Okay, it is working.
Yay.
I think we are live now, and
Yes.
today we have the client interview with Cydney. Cydney joined the Magnetic Mastermind 6 weeks ago, and she had amazing results in the first 2.5 weeks of joining. She signed her first pay in full client for $2,700, and today I'm going to interview her because her story is very good, and you can definitely get some inspiration from it. And yeah, that's what we're going to do today. Very excited to have you here, Cydney. I'm going to talk a little bit about the structure of the mastermind so everybody knows what we are talking about. But maybe you want to introduce yourself shortly first and tell us what kind of business you have.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Cydney, and I help high-achieving women build mental resilience and physical strength through a holistic and personalized approach to mindset, movement, and nutrition. That's a bit about me.
Love it. Okay, so short about the time we already had together, because the full mastermind is 4 months and you've only been in for 6 weeks. And I want to talk everybody through what to expect from those weeks so they also know what you've been doing a little bit. And of course, later you will also explain what you exactly did. So the first journey of the mastermind is that you enter, and the first week, or I think the first week is about easing into the program, but also to look into the premium seller mindset and vibration, because all the strategies can work, but you need to be in the right space to actually be able to execute on them. So that's where we start, because you truly need to get behind and embody that leadership energy that you need to perform at the 6-figure business level. That's the first week. Then after that, we dive into the high vibe messaging strategy, because that is what you need to know how to talk to your clients. And that's what we mostly worked on in the first 6 weeks with you. That's where you look into your offer and look into the messaging around that offer, but also structuring it. So for some people in the mastermind, that can look like what we also did, look into what is the full transformational offer going to be. And for some, it's going to be just refining the messaging around the offer because they already have a premium offer. I would say in your case, because, and you will share about this as well, I guess, in your case, you had more of a membership kind of offer. So you did have some sort of transformation in place, but we'll talk more about what you specifically changed. So I think you're in the middle of those two categories of starting a premium offer or just creating the messaging around it. And then after having that offer in place, you get plug and play strategies, quick strategies that you can use to get people on sales calls or audit calls, as we call them, and immediately sell your offer. And test that messaging and see how it lands and get more feedback, even if you have an audience, but also without an audience. And those are the first things we do in the first 6 to 8 weeks. And then after that, we dive into the high vibe sales system that you build, and that there's a foundation for the 6 figures that you can use to consistently attract premium clients. That is the phase that we are still going to enter, which I'm very excited about. But today we're going to talk about your experience in the first 6 weeks, and especially how you were able to sign a pay in full client in the first 2.5 weeks. So the floor is all yours. Can you share a little bit with me about what your business was before starting together, before starting in the mastermind?
Yeah. So I was doing this very part-time, and I was selling very inconsistently. My price point was like $375 a month. And like you had mentioned, it was more of a like monthly membership. You could sign and pay in full for 6 months or a year. So I could get the $2,700, but it was for 6 months of work. Or if I drop my prices for a deal, it might be for a year of work. So much different. And then I also was not at a point yet where I was really talking about the transformation. I feel like I was much more talking about like, here's what we do, and talking about the tools. And I think in my mind, I was like, oh, to like be a person of integrity, I need to tell people exactly what they're going to learn, kind of thing. But with you realizing, right, like it's the transformation that people are really looking for. And then also, I think as I met you, I was kind of already going through a transformation in my business and not just wanting to sell, workouts and support with nutrition, but I wanted to sell this more holistic and inclusive package. But I was still, I wasn't yet selling that. I had these things in the program, but they were kind of like extras rather than really being the focal point of my program. And then a little more about like the sales system part. I was doing sales calls, but I would not say that I had a strategy of like, I had a link in bio. I watched other people's freebies kind of thing. And like, I knew enough about what to do. But I wouldn't even say like the strategy on the call was very great. Like it didn't leave, like I felt good because you're talking to someone, right? And you're like, I was supporting them, but I didn't feel like, oh yeah, that was a great call. And like getting these like, oh, that's such an amazing offer. I really want this program, because I really wasn't selling it in that authentic way that you're teaching.
I love how you said that, because I remember when you had that first client coming in that you mentioned something about how excited she was, right? Can you describe like what kind of feedback she gave you?
Yeah. And I've had actually a couple sales calls since then as well, but sharing in that initial one, the woman that I met with who we're talking about today, who is now a client, I shared my screen. I was like, okay, this is, the goal we're going to work on. This is the journey we're going to go through. And she was like, did you make this right here on this call for me? And I was like, no, this is my program. And she was like, oh, this is like, this is 100% like what I need. And I think, which is like the point of your program, right? But it didn't feel like a sales call. It felt like I am supporting this woman to get the goal that she wants. And she also didn't feel like it was a sales call. She felt like I was supporting her, and that this program was the transformation that she wanted, and that investment that she was willing to make, which I also love that you shared the word investment rather than like price or yeah. Anyways.
So many learnings there. Yeah. And I think also what you're saying is very important, because we have this idea that a sales call has to be very salesy and very like kind of forcing somebody or tricking somebody to buy something from you. But the people that I work with, my clients, you included, are very much heart-centered people who sell from integrity and who want to help. And the only blockage that you often have is thinking of sales as being very salesy. And then it's not just a mental blockage, of course, you also need the skill set to actually be able to do it in a way that it feels good. But for me, I love sales, I love marketing. So for me, a sales call is never connected to being very salesy, or at least it's not anymore, because I have so much experience in different ways, how I have been sold to, but also how I sell myself and how I see you guys perform. It's just a whole different game where sales becomes this superpower where you're able to connect with people and help them get what they want, while you get also the reward that you deserve for it, right?
Mm-hmm. I love that you use the word superpower. I love that.
Yeah, I think sales is a superpower, and the core of what I do is help give the good people the superpower to move in life. I'm very excited about that. So one small thing or one question still about where you were before starting with me. Did you work with other coaches before me?
I did. And great question. It was more of I would say a plug and play, or that like cookie cutter experience where I gained a lot. I gained like certain systems and things, that some insight that I didn't have previously. So I do think that it supported me with like where I was to like the kind of the first step. But I think for the way that I learn and for the authenticity that I was desiring, and like the living into my integrity and my values, it just wasn't everything. So it was like, it was good. I think every experience in life, we can look back and say like, I learned something or I gained something. But I will say that I had a bit of hesitancy to like join another coaching program, just because I didn't have the best experience. And I wanted more personalization. I wanted more true coaching, and not just like watching a course. I wanted feedback, and kind of like, okay, I take this one step, you give me feedback so I can take another step. And I don't want to call it hand holding, but like just I may be pushing, but someone there.
I would suggest empowering.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, because I was asking, because the last week, so many people I've been talking to are sharing like, I have invested already. I am, I should already be there. I've invested so much. I had these expectations for my last investment, and I'm still not there exactly. And what I've realized is how this process of investing often has certain parts where in the beginning you don't know how to pick the right person for you, because you are so not skilled in sales and in business that it's very hard to understand what somebody is selling to you. And that is probably the first 1, 2, maybe 3 investments that you're doing, where you are kind of like lacking the skill set to find the right fit for you, or maybe you don't even know yet where you want to be. And the first 1 to 3 investments, I would say, says a lot about your character and how you can handle that, because most people are very lucky if the first coach and the first investment is exactly what they desire and what they need. My first investment, I learned a lot from it, but I didn't use anything from it. So it happens to everyone, and you just get better. You get better at picking who can serve you, who can bring you to the place that you want to get to. And that's what I've also experienced. I think I'm at my 8th coach right now, and every time it gets easier and better to find somebody. So what made you decide in the end to go for the mastermind, for the Magnetic Mastermind?
Yeah. Lots of things. I think the biggest one was actually meeting with you. I didn't actually intend on purchasing, so maybe I haven't told you this before. No. But I went to the call and I was like, I just want to see what she says, right? And you said all the things, and I think what you kept repeating, and what I probably said it, or I was like putting it out there without saying the exact words, but wanting that like structure and strategy. I got to a point with my business where I was just like, okay, I've made the time to work on this, but I'm just sitting in front of my computer. Like, I don't know what to do next. I don't know what I am someone who like, my entire program, my life is like, how can I do this to be most impactful, most efficient, right? But I didn't know what that was. I didn't, for my business, I didn't know, okay, if you do these 3 things consistently, then like these 3 things will happen. And so I think more than anything, I don't want to be told the structure. I like how your program is set up, in that like you are supporting me through creating that structure that works for me. I didn't care for like the previous program, kind of like, this is the only way. Like, well, I don't think that's true, right? Like, I'm an intelligent woman. Like, I know there are other ways. So like, helped me out with that. And I think so that structure, and then with the structure, I think is the consistency. And I think obviously, like, I own a coaching business, so like I know the value of having someone there to hold you accountable to that consistency. So I think like this space is like, okay, Cyd, you've got 16 weeks to figure out how to build these programs and or this structure, and then be held accountable in that space. And then I think like the ultimate kind of synopsis of all of that is that it felt like joining this program was the way to like make my dreams real, to get deep with you. Yeah, like I think because I have a 9-to-5, it was really easy previously to like, well, I don't really have to do this, right? But this is something that I've wanted for years, and I don't want to want this without getting it, you know, or like I want to make this real. So I think that was a really long response, but
but I love it.
Yeah.
I think because I'm hearing you say all the things that I hear all the time from everybody. So there are people out there watching this feeling the exact same thing and thinking, fuck, I am still in that waiting phase. I am still waiting to take action. When is it going to change? Yeah. And I think the most important thing is that decision. It's the decision to really do it and to go all in and just live that life. And I know in my program, I talk a lot about we are solving a desire, not a pain, because working with somebody in a premium space for a premium offer is not something you actually need. You can always be in that 9-to-5. You can always do something else. But when the desire comes so strong and you feel you're not here for an average life or for just doing what everybody else is doing, and if you tap into that desire, even when you are hiding it away right now, if you tap into it and you give it space, that desire becomes a need and it becomes a priority, and you make decisions based on that priority. And when you do that, you start to see the outcome based on those decisions, and then you live actually what you want to live. Yes. And that's what I see you do. And it's so awesome to be on that journey with you and to see you shine. And can you share a little bit about the past 6 weeks and what has shifted for you and how you feel in that process?
Everything has shifted. I think the biggest like few things though are first that like shift of my messaging. So the pinpointing my niche, and then pinpointing what the transformation is, like getting my brain away from like, these are the 5 things I teach you to like, this is what we're doing here, and having this like big, this is big, right? Like what I'm empowering women to do is build mental resilience and physical strength. Like these are things that my ideal client desires. And this is, obviously. And then that shift of like building it, it's like something that I wholeheartedly believe, right? And I think that that's the biggest piece. Like it's not just confidence, it's like me stepping into my purpose. And now with this, like one thing that you've supported me with, like refining, and it took me longer than I wanted. But now that I have this messaging, I feel like all the things in my brain are clicking, right? Of like, I know, or I'm learning more and more, like what content serves her. I'm learning more and more what her pain points are, so I can talk through them instead of talking over them or not mentioning them at all. And then I think with that, it allowed me, as I had mentioned, I was already creating like learning modules and trying to like package this. But as soon as I realized we worked through, it wasn't a realization. As soon as we put in the work and defined my messaging, I was able to say like, this is what my 16-week, so kind of, you know, I mirrored your 16-week structure. And I said, okay, this is what we're doing in the first 4 weeks, and then the second, and then the third, and then the last one, and really building out that transformation so that there was more cohesion in my offer. And then of course, what probably the biggest shift financially was changing my price point. So what I charged, or the investment for the 16 weeks is now so one of my clients, she paid me the same for a year. So this is like now my 16-week price point. And I think the like kind of amazing thing, and it was probably just like, it was all the stars aligning, but the woman who is now my client, who's amazing human, she was like, oh, that's it. And I think that was like what I needed, right? For this to be like, oh, I can like command that, I think. And I think to like an earlier point that you made, about people who like work from integrity or like are heart-centered, I think we almost have this mindset of like, oh, well, it's a service, and so a service should be free. And I think that was like one of the biggest humps getting over, that like, I don't need to keep like making this like less and less and less. I need to own that, like, this is what this transformation, this is the investment required for that transformation. And so synopsis of what I just said is that like, clearly my mindset is shifting, but all those structures are what are like allowing for that. And then another big thing that I hadn't done prior to your program was the market research. And I feel like that was well, I feel like I hadn't done a market research call. And I think that also helped me. Doing that call also kind of impacted the way that I was doing my sales calls and the like audit calls that I've been doing, because it's less about the sale, right? And it's more about the service or the empowerment of the other person and learning from them. And I think it allowed me to like step back and be mindful of the conversation and like, oh, I'm hearing you say, and like, I can serve you in this way. So yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah, I love that. So you kind of stepped out of the salesy perspective of sales because of stepping more into what it actually was about connecting them to their desire.
Yep.
And in the beginning of your answer, you said something about the messaging and how everything else clicked after that. And that is also why the program is structured in this way, because the program helps you set up a high vibe sales system. But the first step, well, the very first step is the mindset and the vibration. But the second step is the high vibe messaging, because you can be on all the platforms, you can have a big audience, which all of that is not actually needed to sign clients, as you know, because your client didn't came from your audience, your existing audience. But if you are saying the wrong words, it's basically like speaking French in China. It doesn't make sense. And then you put in all the effort and you're saying all the words that make a lot of sense to you, and you get really frustrated because people don't understand you. And that's basically what's going on if you are bypassing the messaging, because messaging is where everything starts. And from that point, you go into the sales system and then everything flows. And even what you said, it's also about the messaging is also making your offer better, because you understand what people want. It's literally the bridge between what your client desires and what you are offering them.
Yep. Yeah.
So, so you also have a 9-to-5, right? So how are you combining the mastermind? How much time are you putting in? When are you doing the work?
Yeah. I have a 9-to-5, and I also own the business that I own is centered around holistic wellness, right? So that also requires me to like, I do a lot of movement, and I do a lot that's in that realm as well. So that's just me kind of painting that there's a lot of things going on, but the behind the scenes, I would say it just really came to prioritization. And I think the biggest thing for my mindset shift, because initially when I started, I was off from the 9 to 5 for a few days. So it was like doing all the things. And I like busted through, I think 2 weeks in like a few days. But once I got back to my normal schedule, I realized, oh, I can't do that. Right. But in your messaging, you said like the only 2 things that matter to your business are sales and client satisfaction. And you have like a note, I think it's in a couple of them, but you're like, that 2 hours you're spending in Canva, like, and I felt so called out. And I was like, yeah, I'm spending time doing things that like they're not serving my clients. They're not like supporting in that empowerment, and it's not changing my bottom line. So I think the biggest thing was like that shift, and then realizing that what I'm learning here is sales, right? So I think, and you kind of coached me through that like what you're doing here is what eventually you won't be in the program, right? So you'll be doing your sales system, but I have to create that first. So anyways, that was a preface to what the actual shift is, but I'm up at 5. I typically work on this first, and then I go to the gym, I like take care of me, and then I start work. And then after work, I put in, so it's probably like 1 to 2 hours before work, 1 to 2 hours after. And then I am, if you like saw my Google Sheets of like my schedule, my weekend is like me planning where I can fit things in. So anyways, it all fits in. It's just really about like prioritizing, and, you know, you can say you're going to wake up at 5, or you can actually like wake up and do it. So that was also the shift of like, okay, it's now or never. And I think to the point of your program, right, or coaching generally, like I've made this investment, and now it's up to me to continue to invest in myself, right, and to utilize this program for what it's intended. So yeah.
I love that. This is it. This is the moment to do it. And yeah, what you said is so true. You have to build the sales system first, and then it's going to serve you. Most of there are a lot of people out there that are like blasting over the internet saying, oh, I only work 10 hours a week and I have these results. And sure, they might have, but they also put in the work. And after that, you have much more time to do less. And how many hours per week would you say that you spend on the program now? Is it around 10 to 15?
Yeah, I mean, I would say at least 10, but probably, closer to 15. On like a week where I might have less going on, it might be 20, but that's including like the actions that you call us to do. So, and I feel that is kind of like, it's the program, but it's my business, you know. It's not just learning, it's taking action. Yeah.
What I would say to most people when they join the program and they don't have a sales system and they don't have strategy behind how to get clients is to drop everything that they're doing, unless they're sure that it helps, and then just focus on the program. And I think also you're moving quite fast. So you are going in a pace where you've already implemented things from the sales system, even though normally you would now start creating a lead generation plan. And after that, we would look into, okay, how do you set up your Facebook group? How do you do these specific things in your case, because you have a Facebook group? And as you've seen, there are very specific trainings on strategies that either I've done myself or some clients have done. And you already did a lot of the work in the Facebook group, right? So it's not that you're at week 6 exactly. You are actually running ahead and doing everything you can do already. Yeah. Does it feel like you are running too fast, or do you feel it's going at the right pace and you feel that it's in a good pace for you?
I think I have to consistently like check myself. I am someone who's like, so I think you don't just like set expectations once, right? Or set like prioritize once. It's a consistent, I have to do this every week where I'm like reminding myself, okay, like this is realistic expectations, and still giving myself time to like rest or take the dance class, right? Like I am still living into my values, while going through this program. I don't feel like I will probably never say it's like too fast, because I'm like, I want the structure already. That's what I'm craving. I think most is like, I have this plan. So I think right now, more than anything, I'm like giving myself grace to have the plan. And I have spent less time on like, the only content creation I'm doing right now is the content creation that's specific to like the signed clients now and those things. So I do have this like voice in the back that's like, you should be doing it too. But so that's like a constant, yeah. Did I answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, your next step in the program. So maybe, I don't know when you're going to work on it again, but maybe this weekend, maybe next week, is going to be creating that plan and then implementing all the little steps that the sales system includes. So I've got you. It's going to be really good there. Also for the people that are thinking like, I have different type of clients. Some clients are like Cydney, they go all in, they don't need me to chase them and say like, hey, let's do more, which I also don't really do. I don't chase, but I do give suggestions for people that they can step up their game and that they can claim their leadership power, because running a business is all about being that leader yourself. But sometimes there are people that need to be slowed down. And Cydney has a lot of control about this because she is a holistic health coach. So I don't have to coach her much on this, but I do tell people sometimes, hey, let's do less this week. Let's do it in 2 weeks. So that's also something that I do and that I see, because I also came from this power where I can do it all. And then sometimes I need to slow down because I'm also familiar with burnout. Yep. So I think that's one thing personally that I think I'm really good at, because I know both sides. What did you appreciate, or what do you appreciate most about my coaching style and how I coach you through these phases?
Yeah, lots of things. I think the biggest thing for me is you've laid out this structure purposefully, and I see that as a person who also does this. So I think your coaching style lives within your materials, right? But then with your like bite-size action steps and saying like, okay, do this, turn it in for feedback. I love it's not instant, I love the very quick feedback that's still bite-sized, right? It's you're not just telling me like, fix this. You're teaching me why we're changing this and how to make it better for the next time. And I think like, so I come from an education space. I'm formerly a teacher. So I also know that that's the best way to learn, is this like, okay, I tried, I failed, and then you taught me, right? And those are the moments that we learn the most and that things stick the most. And so I think that is, to me, most impactful, of like the consistent, and I would say quick feedback. And then I think also like just who you are, like you're correcting me, but like, it's all in love. I've never read something you wrote to me and thought like, oh my gosh, why is she talking to me? Like, it's not, it's all in love. And yeah, is that?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that so much. And to give people an idea who are watching, the strength, I think, of this program, and I always pick pieces from programs that I've been in myself to be able to support people in the best way. The strength is that we don't do weekly coaching calls one-on-one or bi-weekly even, but that we have daily chat support, with Messenger, and with voice notes. And I think that is what makes you move really fast. And it's set up in a way that you still have the weekly group coaching calls, which are also very tailored to what you need in that moment. But then there's also the very personal one-to-one feedback, where we can go faster because we do work in Google Docs, where the feedback goes really fast and where you can see all the comments. And it's really hands-on, but without it costing me a lot of energy to do, because I still have my own boundaries, and where I am not checking my phone constantly or my laptop constantly to see if there is something sent in. But I have systems in place where I check it daily on the days that I work, which is every day except for Wednesday and weekends. And then you get feedback that same day most of the time. And sometimes it's even faster than that. But I also want you to be able to move forward. And that's the whole setup of the program, to really move fast. Because if you're going to wait for the week after or 2 weeks after when we have a call, it's not going to stick and you're not going to move forward.
I think to that point too, being someone who, I do have a 9 to 5 and I do like work out before work and I do all these, right? I do all these things, having to stick to like a scheduled time and meet for 30 minutes. Like it would be more difficult for me to move through this program if I didn't have what you offer, which is that like daily feedback. And I think so many questions like come up throughout the day or throughout the week that like, if you had to save them on a doc, you know, for like that one call in 2 weeks, you're not going to get the same. So just to add to what you said.
Yeah, thank you. Because this is a big one, because I know some people out there are claiming that they need the one-on-one support. And I sometimes get that as feedback for people deciding to go with somebody else or deciding to not go for the mastermind, because a mastermind sometimes sounds not personalized enough. But the setup of this mastermind it's so incredible. And I'm so happy that we talk about this right now, because it's everything that they need. And it's like you believing in your offer, I believe in mine, and it's set up in the way that it suits best. And our time zones are very, very different. You live in California, I live in Tenerife right now. It's so much of a difference, but because of the way feedback is set up, it doesn't matter at all, right?
Right. Yeah.
What would you say has been your biggest shift in the experience so far?
Ooh, I guess this kind of builds on the previous question, but I think the biggest is knowing who I serve and how I serve them. And being able to like repeatedly, well, one, I know the transformation, right? And then being able to share that transformation. I think that, like even I'm not just talking about these things online, right? Like I believe this, I know what to say now kind of thing, that like, it's so easy for me to just talk about my business and what I do. And I think that also like the CEO mindset that you talk about, right? Like I own a business. And before this program, I would say that like, my partner was probably plugging me and what I do more than I was, because I don't want to say afraid. It was just like, I don't know if this is the space for that. And it's like, this is the space for that. Like, I don't know who needs this. And if I don't talk about this, like they might not get what they need. Right. And so like, I think the mindset is the biggest shift. And then also, of course, like how learning, my thing is still to talk about like the tools and processes more than like the transformation. So I think how I'm talking to my audience is changing, and how I'm talking about, I think the biggest thing is that transformation. And I think that's what I was missing. I was like missing all of the spaces where things needed to click. And I'm still building those, you know, the structures, but I can already see like what sort of shift I guess those will make as well.
Yeah, and I think also the important part about knowing the transformation and how you talk in the high vibe messaging style makes it so easy to create content. Probably before, if you were creating content, you were looking at it, you were thinking about it, you were maybe making nice images in Canva for a little bit, then maybe letting it sit, changing it a little bit more, then posting it. And that would maybe take 5 hours for one post. And that is a lot of time that is not really needed, especially if there are no results from that post as well, right?
Yeah, I
So
mean,
there,
yesterday I went on a walk and I had a handful of ideas, right?
right?
Because I'm in this space of like, this is what I do, this is how I serve. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you haven't even gone through the content module, right? So after that, I do a lot of things in there, and you're going to do a lot of things where it's not just content creation, but it's content marketing. So it's not just creating it and every day creating it, and when you're sick you're not creating, so there's nothing happening, but we actually build funnels and we build systems that work for you, that you can direct people to. And that's gonna be like, we have 2.5 more months. It's gonna be so good. Are you excited about those 2.5 months?
I am so excited. It's funny too, because like what you do is also what I do. Like, I support women with creating structure in their lives. It's just, I don't know sales, right? So you're giving me the structures that I need, and thank you. Yeah. That's my emoji hands. That's what I was doing.
Nice. Yeah, and I totally agree, because I know what you teach your clients, because I work with a performance coach, and we also do things that you do with those women. And for me, like, going to the gym was such a blockage. I would go to the gym and I would not even go, first of all, and then if I would go, I would be freaking out, like, okay, I just go on the bike, or I just go do something that I understand, so I don't make a fool out of myself. But by doing that, I wasn't actually creating the results that I desired. And that's also where coaching comes in, of course. And my clients are expert coaches and healers, so most of them will know it is not supposed to be happening by yourself. You're not supposed to go through life by yourself. That's not the goal. It's the goal to connect, to grow, to do inspiring things. And if you keep yourself small and just do what you know all the time over and over again, that's the same results you're going to get over and over again. And so, yeah, I definitely feel you on needing somebody to help you in the spots that you haven't done yet. And for me, it's just such an honor to find people that have that special skill set and have that expertise and a pure heart. I want to share also with the world their things, and I get to empower that. So I'm very grateful that you're in my space. I think I have almost had every question. Yeah, we also talked about the mastermind. Yeah, everything that I wanted to know. There's one more thing that really stood by me when you shared it. And that was, I think, the day after you signed the pay in full client. And first of all, you asked, do I need to raise my prices now? Because you felt it was too easy, which I love. But then also you shared something about how you felt, and how you felt that it was possible for you to have this serious business. And can you share a little bit from that point of that feeling that you had that day, how you felt?
How I felt about having, like, that this is my business, or
what is possible after knowing that you have this skill set now, and that you're even expanding on that skill set?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big, well, there's a lot of things there that because of the mindset shift, because of the structure of the sales call not feeling like a sales call, I think it was like, one, this feeling of like, what I do matters. This, like, my newest client, right? Like, she needs this. This is something that, like, she's been struggling with. And had I not, like, put out the market research, had I not drawn her in, who knows? Like, who knows how much longer she would have gone on feeling overwhelmed, or like she's a badass bitch, but she doesn't see it. I'm about to cry. But like this, like, this is what I do, right? That, like, women, like, that's my women should feel like the amazing humans that they are. And I feel like with so many of us are going through life overwhelmed by all the things we think we should be doing, and we're not feeling capable. And so I think that it was this, like, moment of like, okay, like, get your shit together, Sid, like, this shit matters, let's go. There was that. And then I think too was like, if I can command this, like, I don't know if that's the right word. If people are willing to invest this amount of money, then, like, I can continue to serve deeply, right? That like, to me, I don't want a cookie cutter system. I don't want to have to serve 100 people in order to make the money that I need to make to live my dream life, right? Like I still want that depth with people. That's my favorite part, is connecting. And so I think it was like, okay, if I can continue this and I can build these structures, and I can, right? So it's like, when I get there, then I don't need to be splitting my focus. And that's what I'm doing right now. Like I'm doing all of this while also doing all the things for somebody else's company for 8 hours a day, right? And so when I can give those 8 hours a day to my company, what is possible? So yeah, I think too, it was like, okay, if I can do this in X amount of months, like I can actually, that shift can be real. And then I can be making more money than I make here, giving 40 hours a week. So, yeah.
Yes, that last part, especially, well, also of course the transformation, but especially the last part about how you felt like, holy fuck, what can I do if I have this job, or if I have this business full time and I can serve full time? That is the dream, right? That's what I'm doing. I love it every day, and it's just so inspiring to be working with people like you. And I also want to be mindful of your time, because I know at some point you need to go. Is there anything that you would love to say to people who are thinking about joining the Magnetic Mastermind?
I mean, the first thing is just do it. I think that like take the chance on yourself and see what comes. Make the investment. Like it's not an investment in Amy, it's an investment in you, right? And are you worth it? I think that's like, do you think that you're worth taking this step and making this change? You are. You are capable of manifesting your dreams. But you might need help, right? And that's one, we need to admit that like I don't think I could have gone and researched all these things and still not come up with the structures that you're supporting me with, right? So I think that's a big one, is like, do it. And then I think also like, get ready. This is like, it is a time investment as well, right? Like you have to be ready. You have to put in the work. So you have to be willing to say, I'm doing it. And when you pay that money, you're probably like, oh, I better do it, right? So, but those things I think purposefully come hand in hand, right? So yeah, do it.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, and I think it's true what you say. You have to be ready, and the only person that can get you ready, that is you. And the whole sales process, of course, that we set up is built to help you get ready. But the only person who can actually decide that it's time, and that you're done waiting, and that you're done standing on the sideline and playing small and thinking about the desire that one day might be your dream if you get lucky. Fuck no. You get to decide that you get to do it now. And of course you need to put in the hours, but it is your passion. It is your dream. So it probably won't even feel like you're doing that much work, because you love it and you know what you're doing. You know what you're building. You know, it's time, right? It's time. You can wait 5 more years or 10 more years, but in that time, there's not a lot going to change.
Yep.
Okay. So if people were listening to you and are like, or especially women, if they were listening to you and are like, fuck, she's really cool. I need what she's offering. I need my movement, my mindset, my nutrition. I need all of that. And I want to do it with Cydney. Where can they find you?
Yes. So there's a few places. I do have a Facebook group. So facebook.com groups. And the group is Resilient Mind, Strong Body. So you can find me there, join our group.
I will put links also in the description for whoever is wanting to join. Yeah.
Thank you. And then I also, on Facebook, you can find me. My name is spelled with a C, Cydney, Goodin, GOODIN. And then I also have Instagram. And I'm really active on Instagram, and you can find me there under Bodify, like the word modify, but with a B, by Clarity, but Clarity is spelled with a K.
Awesome. Okay, so for everyone who's watching this and is thinking, okay, I need to get into the Magnetic Mastermind, you can also still meet Cydney then, because she's going to be in for 2.5 more months. This is an invitation for you to send me a message with the words magnetic, with the word magnetic. And then what will happen is we have a chat about where you're at in your business, what you're wanting to do, if it's creating a premium offer, or maybe you already have one, but it's not selling consistently. So we have a conversation about where you're at, where you want to go to. And if I feel that it's a match and if it's a good vibe and you agree with me, then we look into how you can actually join the mastermind. I will put some links here about following Cydney. I will also put some links about where you can find more information on the mastermind. Super awesome that you've watched until the end. I hope there were a lot of golden nuggets. If it's not the inspiration to either look up Cydney or get into the mastermind, hopefully you also got value from it. I know there's a lot that Cydney mentioned that you can already take from this. And that's the end of this call. Thank you so much, Cydney.
Thank you.
I will